Oh my God. Go. Culinary torch time. We are testing 3 different types of butane torches and 2 different types of propane torches. We're running through 3 different tests. We are bruleeing some creme brulee. We will torch a tomato and sear a steak. We have the Rosal for $32, the Mezemeister Chef Flamme for $44, the Iwatani for $44, the Benzomatic torch head for $44, and then the Searzall attachment for $75. All right, so going through the difference between butane and propane. Butane is stored at a much lower pressure and it's in a liquid state. So depending on where you're storing your butane, it's gonna affect the performance of the torch. So if you're storing it somewhere cold, it might not work as well and the flame might not be as intense. As opposed to propane, which is stored in a much higher pressure, so you get a much more intense heat. Butane is much more convenient to use at home because you could just buy one of these canisters and refill it. So this is the Rosal, and we'll run through some of its features. We have the igniting button over here. You can control the intensity of the flame, and then there's a hold button if you want to hold the flame. So we're clicking this down. Okay, pretty easy. And then the intensity of the flame there, and then you can also choose to hold the flame. The intensity of the flame doesn't seem too strong, but all in all, I think it's pretty simple, and we'll see. Okay, moving on to the next. Okay, the Mezemeister Chef Flamme. Pretty similar features as the Rosal. Also has the igniting button, intensity of the flame. All right, that's the highest intensity, low intensity. Yeah, but all in all, pretty simple. Next, the Iwatani. Basically what you're doing is you're buying the butane canister and you're just attaching the top. You turn it on, then you can go strong or go low. And with this, you have to turn off the gas for it to turn off. All right, so now we have the Benzomatic torch head, and this one I love. I mean, I use this at my restaurants all the time. I think when I first used this, I was a little bit scared of it. So this is pretty simple, similar to the Iwatani. You just turn on the gas, ignite, right? And then you just turn it if you want it strong, and then you can also turn it on low. And now with the Searzall, and obviously with this you would have to buy the torch head to use this, but this is really neat. You just attach it on like that, and then you just secure it with this little knob. See that? So basically what this is doing is it's diffusing the heat, so you have like a more wider surface area, and you can see how intense that heat is, and it's like spreading wide. Okay guys, moving on to our first test. Let's brulee some creme brulee. So when we're applying all this heat to sugar, I know that it seems like the sugar is melting, but it's actually decomposing. So it's changing its chemical compound to a different structure. So for each torch, we're gonna time this for 1 minute so we can see the difference between each torch. Got some sugar here. Just gonna, okay, let's do this. All right, we are ready to go through the results. I would say the Rosal and the Benzomatic torch head work the best. It's the most even, you can see. The Iwatani looks blotchy only because the flame was kind of like dispersing out like in odd motion. And then the Searzall, it's just literally only torched the middle, and it was really difficult to get the sides. So good. I like the Benzomatic the most. It was easy to use, the heat was pretty strong, the Rosal worked really well as well, but then there was a problem of like it turning off in the middle, and we had to reignite it several times. But moving on to the next. Skinning some tomatoes. Basically with any vegetable that has a little bit of thin skin, you can torch it and skin them. We are gonna time each one and see which one skins it the quickest. I think I'm just gonna do it on the highest heat. Oh wow, that wasn't me, you guys. Okay, results, guys. The Razzle, I had a really hard time with keeping the heat on. I had to keep igniting it. So it took a really long time, and it was in last place at a whopping minute and 5 seconds. The Mezameister worked pretty well. I didn't really have trouble there. The Iwatani and the Searzall seems like the heat was like dispersing in a weird way, so it wasn't as strong. My favorite, of course, the Benzomatic. Did the best job, 14 seconds, super quick, super direct heat, very hot. The winner is the Benzomatic at 14 seconds. It's the best.
Oh my God, it's Burnzomatic.
Oh, what? Benzomatic. It's Burnzomatic? I swear it's Benzomatic.
Everyone calls it.
My bad, you guys, my bad. It's the Burnzomatic, not the Benzomatic. Moving on. Okay, our final test, we are searing steak with the torches. If you don't get an even sear on a steak, you can like kind of use a torch to like do certain spots. So it's kind of cool. And with this test, we're gonna cap it at 3 minutes each. Now we're starting with the Razzle. Okay, salt, pepper. Oh man. Results, results, results. All right, going through them, the Razzle, kind of underwhelming. While we were searing, it turned off again. So, you know, it delayed it, and also it didn't really get a good sear. Overall, kind of disappointing. The Mezameister did a better job. I would say that for something so small and handheld, it, you know, created a good sear, and it was pretty hot. I think that if we gave it like a minute more, it would have done, you know, a really good job. Iwatani, not so much. The flame is just like not as hot, which is weird because it like disperses a lot. It's more of like a medium heat. Really kind of just like graying of the steak. The Burnzomatic, I thought it was awesome. It seared it really, really quick. I was able to do like all the sides because I had time left. I thought it worked great. I think the Searzall was amazing for searing the steak. It's very even, and it was easy to control. It's made for this purpose, so I think it did a really good job. Final thoughts, final thoughts. Our first test, torching the creme brulee, Burnzomatic won. Our second test, skinning tomatoes, definitely the Burnzomatic. The third test, searing a steak, the Searzall took the cake. Overall, between all the tests, I'd say the Burnzomatic, hands down, it's great. And remember, without the Burnzomatic, you can't use the Searzall anyway, so you would have to buy the Burnzomatic. But for me, my favorite, it's the Burnzomatic. It's awesome, it's super strong, it's the best.